welcome to the Gussets and Go Days podcast, episode number 8. My name is Christina and this is my podcast about my knitting, stitching and all my crafting endeavours. So today, as promised, I thought I would share with you my knitting story. Also I'll do my sewing as well at some point, but that's a little bit more in depth, so I thought I would go with a slightly lighter story to start off with. I've got a little pile of my projects to share, which isn't bad actually. It's quite impressive seeing it all piled up. But I started to knit. I was at my babysitter's house and I found a half knitted object. I think it was a scarf, and it was just a garter stitch. Just a long rectangle, and she'd just been going back and forth, back and forth. She wasn't a knitter, she didn't love to knit like I think lots of us crafters do, but her mum had encouraged her, so there was a project there. And I just found this thing, and it was just magical to me that you were creating an object from a string, and I was quite in awe of that. So I asked her to show me. She only knew the knit stitch, she didn't know how to cast on or cast off, so she showed me the knit stitch, and I did a few stitches. But in classic me, I did not want to work on her project, I wanted my own. So she told me to go downstairs in the flat to the bottom floor and speak to a lady who lived there, but because she was a knitter. But that lady was absolutely terrifying. She lived next to the back door, and I was very little, I was probably, I don't know, 7. And the kids used to run in and out, in and out, in and out all day through that back door and slamming it. And so all I knew of that lady was she was the crazy lady that screamed out the window at all the kids. So there was no way that I was going to knock on the door of this scary. Actually, she was just that poor woman. Just these hideous children running around. Anyway, so I was told to go down. And I walked out in disgrace with these knitting needles and this yarn, and I didn't go and ask her how to knit. I knew how to do the knit stitch, so I sat on the stairs in disgrace so no one could see me, and I just knotted stitches all along the needle until it was how wide I wanted. And when someone asked me later, oh, did she show? I was like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, she showed me. And then when I cast off, I think it was a Dolly's blanket for a Barbie, so it was only really tiny. When I cast off, I just ran the needle through and tied a knot at the end. So there were live stitches just swiveling about on just a piece of yarn, which I don't have one to show you. I wish I did, but I don't. And then I didn't knit again. I only ever used those little wooden dollies with the pegs, the 4 pegs. And you have one needle and you wrap your yarn around and you just go all the way around, turning this little wooden dolly with the 4 kind of pegs coming out of her head, and make these long tubes, very narrow. I think they're about a centimetre wide, and I love doing those, but I never did anything with them. There was never anyone kind of crafty who would I know now you can make scarves from it by stitching it together, or you can do placemats where you just spiral that little snake together, stitch it together. So I just made them and then did nothing with them. I probably made little ones as scarves for Barbies, or I don't know, I'm sure I used one for like a hair ribbon or something. But anyway, so I didn't become I didn't knit a garment till I was, I would say, 15, and I was a big Harry Potter fan, and I used to knit just plain garter scarves with dropped stitches, and they would go wider and smaller, wider and smaller. And I didn't know how to count my rows, so each of the light blue and the dark blue, because I so desperately wanted to be Luna Lovegood and she was a bit crazy, and then the Ravenclaw colours I liked because I had blue eyes, so I thought, oh yeah, I would be Luna Lovegood and I want a Ravenclaw scarf. So I made them, and then my friend wanted one as well. She wanted to be a Gryffindor, so I made her one. And my friends just wore these hideous scarves, and I have searched for picture evidence, but there is no evidence of these hideous, really bad scarves. But I was so proud of them, and actually I think that as a child and as a maker at the beginning, I think it's really important to wear what you make. Because if you save them for special occasions or you're worried about destroying them, when you get better at your craft, you look back on those things with disappointment, I think. Because then you have something to compare it to. But when you've not made anything before, that pride in your garment, I think it's really important to just enjoy it and to be proud and to wear it around, and I don't know. Anyway, I did, my friend did, and we loved it. But a couple of years ago when I started my blog, I knitted my first kind of proper garment. So I found a YouTube tutorial and I just followed the video. So I cast on 25 stitches, alternated between knit and purl stitches, which is a moss stitch, it says here. This is a Rowan yarn, Rowan big wool yarn in lipstick, and I used size 10mm needles. So if I can find the tutorial that I used, I will put it in the down bar. But it was really simple, and the edges are slip stitched, so you get a really nice edge, and I used 3 balls. I remember this yarn being really expensive actually. I wore this for absolutely ages. And I just, oh, it's so cozy. Actually, I don't know why I don't wear it anymore. I think I need to get this back. I think it's because it's a bit orangey. Orangey is not really I'm more of a reddy red, but anyway. I do better with visual learning. I was hideous at school actually, because you can't just tell me something and not pique my interest. I have to be shown something, you have to, you know, I love a good story. You tell me a story, you get me engaged in it, and I will do my homework as soon as I get home, or on the bus on the way home because I'm so excited. But reading a book, not so much. So where I tried to maybe read knitting books or diagrams in the past, doesn't work. But as soon as I saw that YouTube video of someone knitting, my hands just can copy it, and I pick up really, really quickly anything tactile. So that was my first, I don't even know if you can call it a garment. I'm calling it a garment because I wear it on my body, even though it's an accessory. It's actually a really soft wool, and I'm really happy with that. And then I wore it to go and buy some more wool from John Lewis, and a lady asked me, I was in the haberdashery section where they have all the wool, the lady asked me if I'd knit it and what yarn I used, and she was so excited and I was so proud. I was really proud. Anyway, hilarious picture. I don't think it looks very good on the iPad, but yeah, look at that. It's me looking ridiculous. Victory rolls. Anyway, then moving on from that, I made, you'll have to excuse the ends, so many of these. So these are little, it was a vintage pattern, and there's this little kind of loop. You thread it through, just ignore the ends. But it's just a little scarf, and mostly I made them as gifts because I wore one and I absolutely loved it, so I knitted loads. And then lots of people wanted them for their grandmothers, because apparently my style is granny chic and I love a good granny. I'm happy to support the cause because it keeps the back of your neck warm, and maybe if you're at home you don't want to wear something big, so I don't know, you little old ladies like them, and I like them too, and I have no problem in wearing something that's a bit granny. And I do like it with a little brooch in the middle, that's super cute. So I have a Ravelry page about these and the patterns on there, because it was a free pattern that I found online. And it took me a very long time to knit one of these. I think the first one took me about a week, and it's just an acrylic DK weight yarn, and you start at you start at this side. Again, ignoring my ends. You start here, you increase, you go straight, you create this, split your stitches to create this loop. And that's stockinette, and then some more garter. And and then you do everything the opposite way round. And that was a really great project to teach increasing and decreasing. And you've got the thicker yarn. I think it was a 4mm needle I used. I really enjoyed making those, and that gave me a little bit more confidence. I didn't find a tutorial for this exactly, this whole thing, but I would follow I would look up each instruction, so it would say knit 2 together, so then I would log onto YouTube and I would follow that specific tutorial on how to do that. Then I would go to the next thing and then I'd look again. So I made loads of these. I haven't worn this one yet, obviously that's why there is the end. But if you want to knit one of those, just go onto my Ravelry page for it. I think I've called it the jaunty scarf. I've called it something ridiculous, but I think the photograph is the pattern. Anyway, all right, what did I knit after that? After that I did my first cardigan, and that I can't find, I don't know where it is, but it was a little crop sweater and it was in a thick yarn, and it looks fantastic over a little dress, but it's too cropped, so when I move my arms up it really lifts high. I made it probably a size too small, and then I embroidered here some little flowers which are very pretty, and then I tried to do the same on the back and it just doesn't look great. I think there's a picture on my Instagram. I posted it recently that was a bit of a disaster. I really like the pattern though, so if you're interested in doing your first garment, it's got raglan shaping through here, and the video showed you step by step by step, which is really handy. Anyway, let's go on to my most recent make. So I kind of then just jumped from very simple bulky weight garments to a fingering colour work sweater. I've shown this before on my Christmas special, but that was a little jumper that I did, and that was a year. I wore it last February. I started it a year ago on Christmas Eve. Oh gosh. Oh wait, no, there's no pattern details, but anyway, perfect Christmas jumper from the Knitting Gifts, Vintage Gifts to Knit by Susan Crawford. Gosh, I'm all sniffly today because I've been doing some cleaning and everything feels like really dusty. I don't do well with dust. Anyway, I'm super happy with it. I didn't show you my floats, I don't think, on the last one, but they are very long. I didn't realise that you shouldn't be carrying quite so long floats, but that doesn't matter. It fits me really nicely. The back, I've done this button band, and they are too far to the edge, but I did follow the pattern. I think it should have been one further in, so you don't just have the one lonely stitch on the end. And I made mistakes. I made this in a really tiny size first and had to go back. I kept messing up the intarsia. These two are intarsia, the rest is Fair Isle stranded. It fits me, I wear it. I didn't realise that I didn't like acrylic yarn at the time, but we learn, and I only wear it at Christmas. It's not an everyday piece, so that doesn't matter. And I loved that book so much that I then moved on to the Tufted City Cape. Town and City Tufted Cape. Again in the same book. And I knit that one out of Drops Karisma, colour 66. It's the dusty pink, which it has a little bit more lilac in it than I would like. But hey ho. So this is it. Actually, I'm going to put it on because why not? I made this as a bed cape, and I've mentioned it before. And it has this really cool blackberry stitch. Blackberry, tufted, or Trinity stitch. There's a few different names for it. It was a really fun knit. and it's so cute. Oh, pull it up there. This was the first thing that I ever blocked, and that kind of converted me to blocking. I'd just given things a bit of a steam before, so this really showed me the power of blocking, because when I had knit it here, it was sticking really out like a chicken wing. It was so ugly. But once I blocked it, it gave it this lovely drape. Also, before I blocked it, this was so hideous, I could not have worn it on my body. It felt like one of those scratchy sponges that you use to clean pots and pans. It was hideous, really hideous. I have since blocked it, and now it's really lovely. This is the medium size, and I mean, lots of people just wear this. Lots of the people who have knit this just would wear this out. I possibly wouldn't, but just because I think it looks like a 19 kind of 30s, 40s, 50s bed cape. So when my shoulders are cold, I love this. The pattern I found really complicated because, oh, sorry. When you did the shaping, it didn't give you row by row instructions. So I don't know if you can see, but on the bottom where you do the shaping, I then messed up the black. It's not in order. So where the blackberry tufts should go down perfectly, this bottom piece is out of line. And I think you did the back first. I think, did I do the back first? Anyway, there was 3 pieces, back and then 2 fronts, and I messed that up. But that doesn't matter. It's really lovely. That stitch is very pretty. But you can, I mean, I can see that that's not perfect. But it doesn't matter. It was also much denser after I'd knitted it, and when I blocked it and I kind of just stretched it out a little bit to get a nice shape, it did kind of give it a nice drape. Anyway, so those were 2 pretty successful garments that I did last year, and that was it. After that, I'm a garment knitter. I've decided that's what I'm doing now, knitting garments. It's only recently that I wore this, actually. And I don't think I blocked it for a good 3-6 months after I'd knitted it. But love this one. Then what did I do? Then I did the Salal Cardigan, and that's by Andi Satterlund. I bought the PDF. Anyway, I downloaded it on Ravelry, and this is my favourite garment I've ever knit, and probably will ever knit, I think. This was a really proud moment for me. It's knit out of Woodstock worsted by Blue Sky fibres. Gosh, come on. There we go. Lovely jubbly. Colour number 1303 Highland fleece. It's very soft. This one I didn't actually block. I haven't washed it yet either. Don't really wash my knitwear very often. And it has pilled a little bit. It does these quite big pills, and then I just take them off and throw them in the bin. So I think that's wearing really well. Some things have lots of little tiny pills, and it just makes the fabric look really, really old, and then they don't come off nicely. And anyway, this does. I found this really, really tricky because of this lace, and I knit this lace portion so many times, and it's not something that I could knit next to somebody else, but really, really happy with this. What size did I knit? Did I write any notes about it? I did. I knit the medium size 3 6 mother of pearl buttons. Don't remember where I got those. Oh, I think Liberty London maybe. Yeah. Anyway, this has been my most useful make, and what was the thing that I did? Oh yeah. So to join all the yarns, I just held the two together. So I held the old one at the end and then the new one together. And I know you can't actually see it, but where I've done that, it's much thicker, and if you hold it up to the light, I know you can't see it, this is useless. Anyway, I can see it. I can see that it's thicker, and so now if I'm joining, I would only join maybe under the arms, not on the front, not kind of slap bang across the bust, kind of. This was a really, really fun project. The lace was not fun, actually. I guess that does make me a super product knitter, not a process knitter, because I hated knitting the lace, but I knew I wanted the garment, so I just... We are in focus, aren't we? Let's just check, yeah. I just slogged on with it. And what was... Oh yeah, I did the button band, and all the button holes are in the right place, and then one of them slightly off. The one on the neckband is slightly off, but it doesn't bother me. I made it to go with all my little vintage dresses, which are waisted, so I mean whether they're big on the skirt or narrow on the skirt, they're fitted on the bodice half, so this would stop at the waist, so it's difficult to wear it with separates, which I didn't realise. So something that I've realised kind of this winter when I've gone to wear it, it's not as useful a piece. So I think if I were to make a garment like this to wear with separates, I would go with 1 inch or 2 longer so it covers the waist seam rather than ending kind of exactly at that point. But anyway, okay, and then the last garment that I want to show you is from Pompom Quarterly, from their magazine, and it was the reissue of their first episode, that kind of anniversary edition. So it is a kind of wide, boxy pullover. Ignore the brooch, that's all you can kind of see because it's bright red. I wear this always with it. It's knit top down, and it's knit seamlessly in the round. Quite a fun knit, except the pattern is wrong on the neckline, and so I must have knit it 4 times, and I got quite upset actually. It was really annoying. I kept making the same mistakes and I didn't understand why, and I was following it step by step. I was writing it down, I was doing the scrunched up face the whole time. That's kind of my knitting face, my scrunched up knitting face. Anyway, then I looked online and I found that they had kind of issued a, not really an apology, just a kind of like notification, just saying that these are the issues that we found. Well, I just assumed that they do things right in in formal publications, but you know, we're human, everyone makes mistakes. So came out really well. I knit it in Drops Lima, which is a wool alpaca. Wool and alpaca for every day. I ordered this because Drops is quite cheap, and I didn't want to invest a lot of money on an expensive project when it might not work. And I had found that the wool of the Karisma with my little cape was too rough. I mean, before blocking, I'd found that it was horribly rough and I didn't want to wear it. So I thought I'd get something with a mix, and I thought the alpaca would soften it up, which it does. And that, for me, is really nice. I don't know if that would bother some people, maybe. I mean, something's always going to bother somebody, isn't it? This is the colour 0519. Anyway, it's a lovely heathered grey. I really do like colours that are not all one flat colour. I think it looks more expensive and more luxury to have that speckling. Now, alpaca was not the best choice because you can't really see the rooftop, the zigzag pattern, which is on the sleeves and on the waist. So although it looks beautiful on the stockinette, that kind of looks a bit like a mistake. Like I've made a mistake instead of that I've put in a pattern. So that's a bit disappointing. I've also gone slightly too cropped. So it's meant to be, I pulled up a picture to show you of the model. So it's meant to be a cropped cardigan. It's not meant to be full length. That's Lady wearing it. She looks super cute in hers. And mine does fit like that, where you've got the kind of the emptiness under the bust. And then where you've got the emptiness kind of through the back there. She's very slender, and on her it looks, you know, super stylish and cute. Doesn't look that cute on me. I mean, I still wear it, and I still do love it, and I have to wear it with something slim on the bottom, so a little pencil skirt or narrow trousers. I think you can easily be swayed with a picture. You see these beautifully set out, beautifully styled models, and everything's been edited, and you think, oh, you know, I want that garment, but you need to think it through. Does it suit your figure? Is it something you would wear? Will it fit into your wardrobe? And that was a big learning curve for me, this garment. Also, when you wear it, if I hold it, the neckline is a little bit of a slash, kind of a boat slash. Well, when I made it, it immediately stretches out because alpaca is quite heavy. So I ran some elastic through it, and that for me saved the garment. It wasn't wearable because it would fall off one shoulder, it'd fall off the other, and not in even in a nice way, not in a stylish way, just in a sloppy, honestly, just in a sloppy way. But I love the stockinette. Also, another thing, it has at the top of the raglan, in the four corners, so front, back, on both sides, these big gaping holes. And when I wore it, I have a friend who's a knitter, and she said, oh, why didn't you twist the stitch? Well, why would I twist the stitch? She said to close the hole. Well, it didn't say that in the pattern. If it said that in the pattern, I'd have done it. She said, well, you should have done it. Anyway, I had no idea that you were meant to do that. Why would I have any idea that you were meant to do that? But I thought about closing them. I decided against it. I do like the kind of cropped sleeves. Come to about here. Also sized down on the sleeves because they were super wide. So, I mean, the cast on portion is the same as the size I was making, but I just decreased extra stitches to make it narrower. But it has been a really useful piece. I didn't think that it would be. I wasn't sure if I would wear it, but I have worn it a lot. It looks really cute with a white shirt underneath it, but it's very heavy. I mean, the weight of that garment is significant. So, yeah, that's a little bit of my knitting journey. It's a little bit of story time in the beginning and then showing a few of the more recent projects. And knitting for me has become really important because it's such a portable craft. With my sewing, sewing is kind of my true love that I've always sewn from being really little. My mum used to do little bits and pieces and customizing things, costumes, and it was a very creative thing for me, doing sewing. And knitting doesn't have that kind of importance because I didn't do it as a child. I never got to, I don't really know how to explain it. I don't have that kind of tender place for knitting. I love to knit, and I do it very often, but it's an exciting new thing to me, because I'm still a new knitter really. I only consider myself as having knit for about a year, maybe a bit more than a year, let's say 1.5 years. I think I've really come far. I'm really happy with what I've done. And anyway, I have been knitting a lot, and I will show you some more projects next time, because I'm super excited to share with you the shawl that I've knit and the little top that I've cast on. So I'll do that soon. But in the meantime, thank you for joining me. I'm Christina from the Gussets and Go Days podcast. You can find me on Instagram and on Ravelry, both as Gussets and Go Days. And I think that's it. Not so good at the ending as I am the kind of middle part, but thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for talking to me and sending me lovely comments and messages. I really do appreciate it. Until next time, do have a lovely week, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.